Welcome, everybody. My name is Max Otazu from the Mind Medic Academy from out of Bakersfield, California. And today I am joined with Shen from Las Vegas, Nevada. Ian, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Max. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. So why don't you just let these good people know who you are and what you do?
Okay, my name is Shen. I am a life coach and hypnotherapist here in Las Vegas, Nevada. These days I'm kind of enjoying a semi-retired life after the reason why I came to Las Vegas was to take care of my parents. And most recently, my father passed away. And so I was focused really on just taking care of my dad and helping my mom out here in Vegas.
Good. Okay, cool. So what caused you to reach out to me for hypnotherapy?
Oh yeah. The past 2 years taking care of my parents, helping my mom and dad out was really tough, especially the last couple months. And during that time, it was really the first time, well, during the past 2 years, it was really the first time I got to live near my parents again since I was in high school. So it's the first time I was really with my parents a lot of the time. And so there was a lot of stuff that just was triggered from way back when
Sure.
that I had dealt with for the past, several decades of my life. And some of it was really deep, and so especially the last couple months since the passing of my father, I was going through, mourning his death and passing. But it would triggered a lot of stuff that I just hadn't dealt with. And I was slowly moving through it the past couple months.
Sure.
Well, it got to a point where I just knew that I consciously couldn't figure it out. And I've been trying to figure out my stuff for quite a long time. But I knew that it wasn't a matter of thinking through it, that this wasn't something I could even talk through it. I can talk about it, but it wasn't something that I felt like I could do on my own or even with a therapist at the time. At least not a talking type of therapy.
So have you tried talk therapy for this previously?
I have. I
Okay.
did. And I'm not saying it wasn't good or anything. It was good. But I knew I had to do some deeper work, and which is why I reached out to you, is because I recognized that I reached a point that just continuing to talk about it wouldn't help me. I realized that I really do need to do this on an unconscious level. And so that's why I had reached out to you at that time.
Cool. Good deal.
Yeah.
So with as little detail or as much detail as you want, your choice. If you don't want to disclose any information, totally fine. How was your session? Could you describe it to them?
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect, of course. And generally speaking, I don't know. It's kind of like you lend yourself to the process. And so I was open. I just left myself be open to your guidance during the session. I didn't know to what degree I would experience any of the emotions that I had been feeling for the past couple of months, or how deep they would go, or how. So I went into it really with an open mind, and was pleasantly surprised, honestly, because I wasn't
always are.
Yeah, well, I was pleasantly surprised because I was expecting to be more emotional about it, but that really wasn't where I think my unconscious mind wanted to go. It's not so much that. And you guided me through some imagining, some imagery part where you asked me to imagine a white ball, and I could just see that thing sucking up blackness from me.
Sure.
And I just let that process play out. It was very interesting because I consciously was kind of thinking like what's happening, and kind of thinking about wondering about it, asking questions about it. And then I got to a point where, just let it go. Don't ask any more questions. Just let the process happen. And that's really all I did through that process. And you walking me through that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really I didn't feel free. I think I felt different after the fact and after the session,
Mhm.
much more as the days progressed after the session.
Okay.
Like I knew something happened, but I didn't quite know what or how to articulate it to myself or how to make sense of it. And I also decided not to try to make sense of it and
Okay.
just
Yeah.
kind of let the process kind
Um,
of,
yeah. Yeah. Totally.
proceed,
Totally
Yeah.
sense. So, am I to understand what you're saying is that you found benefits not just in the actual session itself, but even days afterwards? You still
Oh,
felt
and
things
indeed. Yeah.
still
Yeah.
releasing?
Exactly. Exactly. I think uh, the, the actual session was really kind of like giving myself permission to go there,
Yeah.
where I think in the past I had never really given myself permission to go there. I knew my unconscious mind was kind of like protecting me from really difficult stuff that I hadn't dealt with. But the session was really like saying, okay, it's time. Let's get rid of some of this whatever black stuff you feel
Yeah.
inside you, and that takes time. We're talking years of repression and suppression or whatever. So excuse me there. Um, yeah. So the gradual healness or integration, however you want to put it, happened in the subsequent days afterwards. Not necessarily immediately, but feel much more free. I
Yeah.
can't. It's hard to even now. I have difficulty describing it because I haven't felt like this in quite a long time. But it does feel. Oh, how I explained it to my friend. I was like telling him that it felt like a dark cloud was opening up,
Mhm.
and then for the first time, sunlight come through, and it
Okay.
was just a beautiful. But it felt like it was in me, right? This dark cloud was just kind of like
Sure.
dissipating, and then how clouds open up, and then you see the blue sky
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the sunlight kind of shining through. That's kind of how it feels like.
Nice. So
Yeah.
for anybody that's at home right now who isn't really understanding why he's talking about colors, your brain doesn't think the way you think it thinks. Your brain
Mm.
actually makes a bunch of associations, very similar to a computer. Your brain makes associations with colors and algorithms. So emotions, feelings, sensations, ideas, sometimes your subconscious isn't able to give them in words that we're going to readily understand, but they'll give you feelings and sentiments, and many times it's colors. And so when I said something to the effect of, hey, just only imagine now that there is a white light above you and just let it drag out any of those emotions, feelings, your subconscious mind makes the connection of, well, there's a lot of repressed junk.
Mm.
There's white above me. Let me just make that association and let that junk, that black color, just start being sucked out of me. And so what ends
Hmm.
up happening is that your body ends up releasing all that extra tension, repression, trauma, thoughts, all the negative things that hold us back as kids. And what
Yeah.
you allowed yourself to do in that moment was really just let go. Like you had just said, you let go, and
Hmm.
it pulls it out of you. It's very difficult to understand from the level of a hypnotherapist. This is very normal and natural for me. I hear this all the time. As the common person, to hear that colors were pulled out of me, you'd probably thinking, oh, Ian just took a bunch of mushrooms and he's just, tripping out or something. Well, the reality is that your brain, very similar to whether you're on psychedelics or whether you are in a place of hypnosis, they both operate the same way because you were dealing with the
Mm.
most part of your being. So
Hmm.
awesome. Great. So you sent me a
I
message.
might, if I may add,
Sure.
Max, I think it may help to know that I tend to be a kind of very analytical person. So I'm constantly asking questions about things. And I like to be in control about what's going on with me.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes with hypnosis, kind of goes against my idea or my tendency to not let go. But
Mhm.
it was having a session with you gave me space to really just kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna open up my hands a little bit and let certain things happen, you know? And this isn't about trying to figure it out, which I tend to do a lot. You know, I'll be like, I'm the type of person who likes to read this, try to find the answer. And
Sure.
then once I find the answer, let's see if I can, do something with that. Um, but then that's why I realized I needed to come to you, is because you know what? This process is searching for the answer is not working. In
Right.
fact, I think I've reached the end of that. I've done all the work that needs to be done. Now it's kind of being in a place where I can let go and let the unconscious do what it does best, which is make you whole,
Sure.
So,
So you being a hypnotist, you
yeah,
I'm sure have heard multiple times say, well, I just have a hard time giving up control to somebody else.
yeah.
You being a hypnotist, were you ever out of control?
No, I could have stopped anytime. Yeah, yeah, I could have. Yeah, it's an agreement I had with you entering into this session that this is what we're going to be working on. So I was open to that.
Yeah.
But
And
yes,
let me continue on with the talking to people at home as well.
yeah,
Whenever you do go see a hypnotherapist, tell them what you want to have happen. Okay. If you are unaware of what is going to happen, then you ask questions and you say, I want to deal with this certain area. I want to work with this. What ends up happening is that many times when you start thinking that I want to work with this, there's a button way over here that you have to push
right,
before you can start working on that.
right,
But the key is giving the hypnotist, whoever's helping guide you through the whole situation, is giving them just enough understanding of what your goals are. I remember I had one guy who came to me, and I don't know why I'm going off on this story time with Max. I had one guy who came to me, set up an appointment, and he came sitting in my office, and I said, so what would you like to have happen today? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I just want to see what happens. Okay. So we proceeded, did an emotional detox with him. And you could just see that he's going into hypnosis, he's coming out. He's going into hypnosis, he's coming out, because he's just trying to watch what I'm doing. He's trying to understand what I'm doing, the process, the procedures that I'm taking as a hypnotist to guide him into hypnosis.
mm,
So he's still staying very, very conscious. For anybody that's interested in doing any sort of trauma work, PTSD work, don't pay attention to what I'm doing. Trust me, I'm not making faces at you. I'm not, doing my taxes on the side. I'm very involved with what you're doing, but these are your goals. This is what's going on in your mind. I have no control over that. All I have are suggestions. So when you tell me what you want, I take that, I turn it around, put it in the form of that hypnotherapy session and give it right back to you. And I allow your
mm,
subconscious mind to do what it does best, just like how Ian said, and just make you whole. It's your thing. You can, in other words, there is nothing that a hypnotist can or cannot do without the approval of the person who's receiving the hypnosis. Does that make
mhm.
sense?
Yeah, very
Good,
much so.
good deal. So we talked about the session. You mentioned that a couple days afterwards, you still were even feeling better. You ended up sending me a message like a day or two after the session. Can you just briefly summarize what that message said?
Yeah, basically, I wanted you to know that I noticed things happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly how to articulate it, but I could sense that some integration, there was still a process happening. I could feel it opening up. Um, but I just wanted to let you know that that was going on, and that I was very promising, very encouraging.
Perfect. Perfect. So is there anything else that you want to mention about your session with me, about hypnosis, about hypnotherapy, anything that Ian just wants to inform people
I
about?
I do. Yeah. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to say to tell people. I think one thing I didn't really mention is the word shame, and that's really at the heart of what was happening for me. That somehow there was such deep rooted shame hidden in me that I had no awareness of. And that's, I mean, on the one hand, that's the good thing about the unconscious mind, is that it's protecting you
Mhm.
from being aware of your shame, so that you could just live and survive every day and go on. But there comes a time when life events like my father's passing started, kind of just poking at that shame, and it starts seeping out. And that's kind of the time when you realize, oh my goodness, maybe it's time for me to address this. Maybe this is it. And maybe I'm ready to address it now that I'm older, and maybe I have more resources emotionally that I can address some of the shame. But I just want to make note that that shame, it's not so debilitating that we can't face it. Do you know what I mean?
Do.
Once we do face it, once we do address it, then there's so much freedom that comes from that. Then you can let it go. I don't have to hold on to it anymore. And that's really how I'm feeling now. It's just little areas still maybe I haven't dealt with it just yet. But it's happening. I can feel it happening. And so I'm really glad that we had this wonderful session at the beginning of the year, because I'm looking at 2023 thinking, oh my God,
I'm going to
this is
kill
gonna be
it.
a great year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but I just want to let people
absolutely.
know, yes, that shame, we don't want to talk about it. But when we do face it, that's where freedom comes. That's
Mhm.
where freedom comes.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that that is one of the things that people don't really like to deal with is shame, because
yeah.
it is a negative sensation, and particularly if you're having to be vulnerable with somebody else,
Hmm.
doubly uncomfortable, and it's totally understandable. I guess with that topic, let me just ask you this: how did you feel while you were being vulnerable?
Well, let me clarify too. It's not like I told you everything that I was dealing with, right, Max? I didn't tell you all the shame that I didn't mention all
Brother, you
that.
didn't even use
Everything
the
I'm telling
word
you
shame.
now, everything I'm
Yeah,
telling you now is because I can talk about it now.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
To be
the one thing
clear,
about
to be clear, Ian didn't even use the word shame when he came in.
no,
So this is all your subconscious mind.
exactly, and the wonderful thing about hypnotherapy, uh, as as Max led me through the session, is like I don't have to talk about it, and frankly, I don't want to talk about it. It's not something I wanted to go, talking with him about and hearing it myself talk about it. So hypnotherapy just created this space where the unconscious mind could deal with the shame without having to discuss it. It's not on a language level.
Yeah,
So that was what was really wonderful about that session, is I don't have to explain to you what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
I'm not interested in hearing all the dirty secrets of the family. I'm not
that's right.
sharing all that with my friends. That means nothing. It really is what is best for my client. And I have learned actually that many times, if I learn to just let your brain do what it does, I
Mm,
can step back and I do less. Let me put it that way. When I allow
mhm,
the subconscious mind to do what it does, I, as a hypnotist, end up doing less.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Ian, thank you so much for being with us. And
Thank you.
there in YouTube land, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever else this thing may be posted something. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Max Otazu for the Mind Medic Academy out of Bakersfield, California, along with Ian Shen from Las Vegas, another great hypnotist there. So if you want to see him for any reason, I will add his details down below. If you want to connect with me, I'll put my details down in there as well. Ian, again, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you over
You're
in
welcome.
live,
Thank you,
buddy.
Max. I'm looking forward to a great year. Thank you so much.